It is no secret that wealth inequality and poverty are pressing issues in the United States today. What is important to understand is that living in poverty often negatively impacts nearly all facets of one's life. These consequences are even harder on families who are living in poverty. In 2018, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that 38 million Americans were living in poverty, 15 million of them being children. And sadly, as with many societal disadvantages, poverty disproportionately impacts minorities in this country. 2020 statistics show that 73% of children living in poverty are children of color. Nearly 1 in 3 are Black and/or Native American, and 1 in 4 are Hispanic children who grow up poor. For white children, it is 1 in 11 who will live in poverty at some point during their childhood. Additionally, in 2019, the Census Bureau reported that 2 in 5 children who are raised by a single mother will experience poverty during their upbringing. Parents with children experiencing poverty have the weight of the world on their shoulders. Raising a child is expensive, and the most significant financial consequences are always felt by those with the fewest resources.
The cost of raising a child obviously depends on several factors, including housing, food, education from preschool through high school, childcare, healthcare, personal care, and entertainment expenses. In 2015, the USDA surveyed about 30,000 households and determined the cost really depends on your lifestyle and where in the country you live. For instance, it costs an estimated $1,500 more to raise children in an urban setting versus a rural setting. It costs parents in the urban Northeast about $264,000 to raise children versus just over $224,000 in the urban Midwest. Contrast that with moms and dads who spend about $232,000 to raise children in the urban South and a little over $245,000 in the urban West.
One of the harshest realities of living in poverty is that it creates many additional obstacles in one's life, making breaking the cycle that much harder. Realistically, this means that children could be facing situations of hunger or food insecurity, homelessness, lack of sufficient health care, unreliable or total lack of supervision, unsafe living environments, lack of reliable transportation, and the list just continues to go on. According to the USDA, more than 11 million children in the U.S. are living in food insecure homes, meaning that in each of those homes, there is a lack of sufficient resources available for all members of the family to lead a healthy lifestyle. Sadly, this data reported was prior to the coronavirus pandemic, and today it is projected that 18 million children could be facing hunger. It is important for educators to be aware of the implications that poverty might have on their students. During the 2017-2018 school year alone, there were 1,508,265 school-aged children who were reported to be homeless. It is expected that the real number of homeless students is much higher. These students' academic standing and educational opportunities are oftentimes hindered by their family's difficult living situation. Poverty can cause children to lag behind their peers cognitively, emotionally, and even in their physical development. These disadvantages can translate easily into the classroom. For example, students experiencing poverty may lack access to sufficient health foods, causing the students to come to school hungry after a long weekend. This can negatively impact the child's cognitive ability, focus, and attention during instruction. A student experiencing poverty also oftentimes has fewer resources available to them at home to help them study or to complete their homework assignments. This could result in the student showing up to school with incomplete homework or missing assignments. Parents experiencing poverty are oftentimes focused on making ends meet and aren't spending a ton of extra time at home. This could mean that the student doesn't have any support or assistance from an adult when attempting to complete their assignments. This could also hinder their academic performance and overall understanding of class material. Another example of how the consequences of poverty spread into the classroom was explained to me by Director of Impact at Second Harvest Food Bank, Sunny Matters. Sunny explains how parents living in poverty often feel a sense of negative judgment from their school's administration, which leads to the formation of a negative relationship between the two. This negative relationship oftentimes carries over to the student living in poverty, and they end up adopting this negative perspective of the school and the education system as well. This in turn lowers the child's academic motivation. One final way that the impacts of poverty are seen in the classroom is in the student's social behavior. It is common to see students in poverty displaying signs of social withdrawal and limiting their interactions with others. This in turn can have negative impacts on the child's effective learning and can result in harmful internalizing behaviors like anxiety and depression. It is clear that these students need support. For starters, teachers can help by being informed of the signs of students living in poverty. This could mean noticing when a child has a lack of records, inconsistent attendance, displays signs of social withdrawal, or lacks participation in class field trips. From there, teachers can support these students by creating a welcoming and supportive classroom environment. For students, this could mean checking in with how these students are doing, providing classroom structure, and encouraging them to participate in the learning process as well as extracurricular activities. A third thing that teachers can do to support these families living in poverty is prioritize the communication with parents. As previously discussed, it is common for schools and parents living in poverty to develop negative relationships. Therefore, making these parents feel understood, accepted, not judged, and part of the community is very important in correcting this problem. This can mean informing the parents of the schools, local, or even national programs that offer them support. One final way that the teacher can support their students who are living in poverty is by giving them alternative resources that they might need to complete assignments. This could mean giving them a clipboard and pencils to take home, printing off papers instead of having them access it electronically, and allowing students to borrow classroom materials like books. It is hard to accept the fact that so many children are already living in poverty, and the number just continues to climb. This is why it is essential to raise awareness regarding the poverty cycle and do what we can to help break down these barriers and support the individuals who are struggling. Vicious cycles can be broken, but it takes the effort of all of us to do so.